Very warm welcome to the first Knowledge Guild event of 2023. I'm Julia Bradbury, and even though I was once called on BBC Newsnight, they described me as an outdoor evangelist. As you can see, I do quite well indoors as well. The theme for this evening's showcase is, as you will be aware, mastering resilience and stepping up your leadership game. Who doesn't need to do that? He's here to share his business building insights and lifting the lid on the Gen Z mindset. So please give him a big round of applause. Welcome to the stage, Timothy Armoo.
I know that this is just a stepping stone in your career. But what we're going to do is I'm going to give you as much responsibility, as much growth potential, as much development. But for the next 2-3 years, I want you to also make sure that you give me everything that you can. None of us are going to delude ourselves into thinking that this is not just a stepping stone for you. But during that period, we're going to ensure that this works very well for both of us. And here's the crazy thing that happens. Some people will go, that's a bit weird. What, you're like setting them up to leave? But actually, it's no. I was acknowledging that at some point they were going to leave. And I was acknowledging that actually the best thing to do would be for both of us to get the best out of each other. And just that simple tweak meant that not only did those people that we had those conversations with, not only did they refer more people to come and work for Fanbyte, but those people ended up being the most loyal people in the entire company.
The brilliantly named Millie Pickles has fired herself into internet superstardom. She's come a long way in 6 years since the accident that would completely change her life. In 2017, Millie was electrocuted by 750 volts, which left her with severe injuries and fighting for her life. Luckily, the doctors were able to save her, but it did mean amputating her right leg. Miss Millie Pickles. How long did it take you really to get used to the new you? This whole new, not going to university anymore, lost a limb, almost a new personality as well, because you had to dig deep for this resilience.
It was tough, and I struggled a tiny bit, but in the grand scheme of things, I did well. And I remember my surgeons came into the room, and there was loads of people, and my surgeon was just talking. He was like, we could try save your leg and da-da-da. And I would just remember this like blur. And I interrupted him and I said, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I've seen my leg, it needs to go, it needs to be amputated. And he agreed that that was the best decision. And then as he left the room, it blows my mind now to think about, but I had a few tears and I turned to my parents and I said, this is literally the first thing I said, at least I can be in the Paralympics now. I always focused on what I could do rather than what I couldn't. And that really, really helped me.
And then someone who has looked at the world from further and higher than anyone else on earth. It is, of course, Sir Tim Peake.
I found out very early on in my army days, if you want to understand someone's true personality and character, just make them cold, wet, tired, and hungry, and their true personality kind of comes shining out. And you can do this really easily in a cave. You take people's watches away, they've got no idea what the time is. Send them to sleep, wake them up 2 hours later, tell them they've had a good 7 hours rest. If you do that for 6 nights on the trot, you wake up on the 7th morning, you think, at last I'm leaving the cave today, why am I so exhausted? And then get told, no, you've got another 3 days to go. And it can have some really interesting effects, because even the most mild-mannered people amongst us will get very irritable with sleep deprivation. And our instructors love this, by the way, because they are actually trying to provoke us. They're trying to cause confrontation. And sometimes there are arguments, but you always come out of this training stronger. You learn how you deal with stress and pressure and fatigue and hunger, but perhaps more importantly, you learn how your crewmates deal with it too and how you can help them if you see that they're struggling.
Once you'd come back from that experience, there was very little in life for him to do. He couldn't find motivation because he had done such an incredible thing, you know, to walk on the moon. So I wondered about the impact on your psychology when you come back from being in space.
I've got extra strength and resilience because of going through that whole process. So I think that's the important thing, is just to take the lessons that you learn through life and keep looking forward.
The sadder days, the down days, how do you cope on those days?
I do everything in my power to make myself feel good. So I have a list on my phone of things that make me happy, and I literally go to the list. I'm like, what do I fancy doing? Might sound a bit psycho, but honestly, it really works.
Good, no, I like it. They're sold for in an 8-figure deal, and you're 27. Where do you go now?
This is a question that my mum also asked me. That's why I almost saw it as just a part of a very long journey. And I always knew that my goal was to build a company, scale a company, and then sell the company, because that would then mean that for the rest of my life I can try and play games by having a cheat code.
Thank you very much, everybody.